Welcome to day 3 of the Better Teacher Organization Challenge. I'm Susan with Shared Teaching, and today we're talking about tackling teacher paperwork. Please make sure you've downloaded the workbook before we begin. On the first page of the workbook, I want you to think about the places we get our paperwork throughout the week. We might get it from the office, from our students, the SPED department, classwork the students have returned to us. Parents might write us notes. We might also get it from the nurse's office, the lunchroom, the library regarding overdue books, notes from outside companies. The list can go on and on. So really just take a few minutes, write down all the places your paperwork comes from. And then on the next page, I want you to think about the top categories, the main categories. And you're going to write those in the top boxes. Because what we're trying to do here is establish a flow for our paperwork. So we know once we get that type of paperwork, exactly where it's going to go and what we have to do with it. So it gets put away in a timely manner. Okay. There is the office memos that you receive is a category that are things that I might receive every week. Then there might be parent notes and assessments. Those are all very common for things that I might have come across my desk. So if I'm thinking about an office memo, the first thing I might want to do with it is write it down in important information. Maybe that's something that I keep in my lesson plan book. Maybe that's a separate binder that I have. And finally, after I've written down the important information from that memo, I'm either going to file it away if I have to keep it, and I like to keep those kind of things in my lesson plan binder, or I'm going to throw it away. So that's the final paperwork storage. That's the final resting place. Another example is a parent note. If it comes across my desk, I want to make sure I put it in my contact form of the date that I received it, what it was about, and then I'm either going to file it in the student file in my filing cabinet, or I'm going to throw it away. Again, assessments might go in my grade book, and then I'm going to put it in a return file to go back to the parents. I don't like to keep my student papers if I don't have to. Okay, for weekly copies, you want to make sure that you have a place to put your weekly copies. These Monday through Friday tubs are very common. You also can do the slim file tubs like I have underneath that, and those are for hanging files, so it just keeps things a little bit neater. I find the Monday through Friday tubs kind of have a curve to the papers after a while because the tubs are so large, and I don't quite need that much space, so I like these slimmer file boxes. Not to mention I can put the hanging files in there. I can organize them by subject. I could say this week, next week, and I can keep the files that way. Okay, you can also do it by subject if that works a little bit better for you instead of Monday through Friday. So instead of Monday, maybe you have a reading tub and all your reading things for the week go in that reading tub. You can also put a file for each day of the week in the reading tub. So you just pull out Mondays and there's your reading things for Monday. Or you can do these binder clips. They're free on the Classroom Creative website. And you can just clip a little title on there of a day of the week, stick it in those subject bins, and your copies are ready to go for each week. I like to make sure I keep that next week file. So if I make extra copies ahead of time, they can go in there. Or if it's something that I didn't get to one week, I put it in a next week file, and I know if I have time, or maybe I keep it for a sub, it's there ready for me to go. You can also keep your files that you need at your desk in these types of organizers. Remember the very first quiz in your welcome email was all about whether you're show, stow, or flow. So if you like to show it off, you might use the letter files like on the left. If you like to stow things away, you might be more of a fan of these Stairlight drawers. I really like the drawers because you can take the whole drawer out and take it with you, especially like to the copy machine. If I need to grade something, I could actually take the drawer home with me. If I need to file it, I could take the drawer out and carry it over to my file cabinet, which is actually very close, and take care of it then. You also maybe want to use hanging files. You can put those, just put a crate on the corner of your teacher desk. If you have that much room, my teacher desk was very small this year, so I did not have enough room to do anything like that. But that's also an option. You could color code your in and out files. Crafty Teacher Lady on her blog talks about how she uses green, yellow, and red folders. Green for her means it's things she has to grade. Yellow means she's going to record the grades. Red means she needs to return or file it. I've also seen red, green, and yellow, meaning red is stop and grade it, green is return it to a student, and yellow is an assessment that an absent student needs to take. Really think about what works better for you and your style. Don't try to do something that you know you're not going to like, because that means you just won't follow through with it later and you'll still be in the same predicament as you were before. Okay, we're just going to talk really briefly about the students because again, that's for tomorrow and day 5. But I like to keep an extra copy tub, and this is just a dish tub from the dollar store. And every time I've passed out papers, actually the students pass them out for me, but when I have the extra copies, I throw them in the bin. If a student's absent or they were missing a paper when it comes up to having missing assignments recorded, they pull it from the tub, and it's very easy. I just say, go get it from the tub. They know at a certain time, I say I'm emptying the tub, and I throw all the copies out at that time. I do tend to keep them for a couple weeks, but I don't keep them longer than that. Okay, Primarily Speaking has this absent student folder, which I think is a really cute idea. I was having 2 different classes and teaching the ELA portion to 4th grade, so I could have used this, but in the past I like to just pass out the papers, leave them on the kid's desk, and when they return, the papers are on top of their desk. But if you didn't want them to get lost, you could have a buddy or your table captain put them in the folder and collect them as you pass them out. You might also want to do a bulletin board or have a set of file folders if you prefer to know by days of the week, and just Mondays you put the extra papers in Monday, Tuesday you put it in Tuesday, and so on. I like to just shove them in the tub, so much faster and easier. To make your grading easier, make sure you assign your students a number. I'm sure you've heard of this tip many, many times, but it really does save time, and it's a reason why you've heard of it a lot. I like to collect the papers also in number order, and then it matches my grade book order. So I grade them and I can record them very easily because they're in the same order, and it doesn't take me a lot of time. That also means if I keep them in that order, it's very easy to file them because my files are also in that same order. I like to have a date stamp so I can stamp assignments or have the students do it. They can stamp their writing assignments, they can stamp their homework when they turn it in, so I know which things are late and when they did turn it in, especially if it's been a couple days before I get to the grading and I've forgotten who gave me what on what day and I want to take off points for missing or late assignments. You can also take and create personalized stamps for feedback. You can make them into rubrics. You can have common sayings on them, and then it's just really quick to stamp the papers with those, and I would especially like to use the rubrics for my writing. Okay, another tip I've heard before is to lay out several papers at one time when you're grading with your master copy there, and then you can quickly scan across a few papers at a time rather doing one paper at a time, and that's just a quicker way to get through the volume of papers. When you're returning papers, I like to keep a student file that's for teacher use only. Again, I had two classes, so I color coded. I had the blue class and the gray class. For S for my name, for W for the other teacher's name, for meaning for fourth grade, so just little code system our school used. And it's very easy for me to put the graded papers in those file folders. The kids come and collect them out of the files when they have something in there, and they can easily take them home. So it's a way to use a mailbox. I would rather use this crate system, I think, for next year because the clear ones just don't hold as much paper and it tends to get very tight if you have quite a lot of students. I also make a second set of hanging file folders with the student numbers on them so that I can very easily take from that file and put it into my file cabinet if it's something I needed to keep. For lesson planning, you want to make sure that you have a system in place for your prep time. Maybe you want to designate Wednesday as your copy day, Tuesday is doing your outlining, Thursday might be your materials prep. By the time Friday comes around, you're ready to just walk out the door, secure in the fact that Monday is already prepped, copied, ready for you to go. Also helps if you have a sub and you weren't expecting it, that all your things are already done and laid out for you. Make a master to-do list that has plan, copy, prep, and grade sections. That will also help you remember what you're doing the same every week. So it's very easy to follow through on your prep time if you have prep time. If not, in the mornings or after school, look at what your thing is to do that day. Maybe it's just to do the copies, then just do the copies after school and you're not spending as much time. Okay, I've heard you should create files for the next year as you go. I've never been a fan of doing that. It's just not how I work because I tend to switch grade levels a lot, and I also don't teach the same thing from year to year. I was in first grade for 5 years in a row, but every year was different for me. So I would rather do a file by topic or subject than week by week because for me it's easier to find the topic of, let's say, addition sums of 5 than it is to find week 17, and that's not sums of 5 where I had done it in like week 13 the year before. Just my tip. Then you just file an extra copy as you go through the week and you have next week's subjects in order. If you're not much on filing, it tends to pile up on you. Another great tip is to use these tubs similar to what Brown Bag Teacher has in her books, and just open it up and throw your papers in there, and then you have one for each week or one for each subject, and it's very quick and easy to file, especially if you're not a filer. I really hope you found some interesting things that you can use and implement, and I will see you in day 4 tomorrow. If you are not signed up for the challenge, please visit the link on this page, and I will see you then.